Hi, everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of the Align Wellness Podcast. I am your host, Dr. Torrie Thompson, and this week we are diving into all things thyroid. And the thyroid is something that is so common for people to have issues with, but unfortunately, there's so much information or lack of information that really makes people think that they have to be on thyroid medications forever. And in reality, they either have a very hard time getting diagnosed, then finally get diagnosed and stay on medication, or have zero idea why it happened in the first place. So we are going to dive all into the thyroid myths, what imbalances, what things affect it, and then what you can do. So when we hear all the time people complain about, thyroid issues, and the biggest thing is that it took forever to get diagnosed. And so one of the most common myths that we see, and this is coming from the medical side, that is that if your TSH, the main thyroid hormone, is fine, your thyroid is great. And in reality, that is one of many thyroid hormones. And if TSH is okay, it doesn't mean that T4, T3, or that there's, any of the antibodies there. So you have to do a full thyroid panel to really get the big picture of what's going on and what hormones in the thyroid conversion pattern are even off to begin with. The second thing is that thyroid only affects women. It only affects older women. And that, unfortunately, is not true. Everyone has a thyroid. Yes, it affects women, but it also affects men. We are seeing young people getting diagnosed with thyroid issues as well. So just because you're male or younger does not mean that the thyroid might not be affecting you. The next is that if you have hypothyroidism, just take the medication and all will be well. And yes, that does fix the symptoms. However, it doesn't figure out why. Why is your thyroid gone off in the first place? Was it nutrient deficiencies? Was it a gut issue? Was it your toxic load? What was it that started the issues with the thyroid? And is there anything you can do to reverse that to start to allow the thyroid to heal? So the craziest piece of thyroid is it usually takes people several years to get diagnosed with thyroid issues. It usually has to get pretty bad before they start, before they get a full diagnosis. And what are some of the symptoms? So the biggest one is low energy and weight gain. Those are probably the two biggest symptoms we see, either weight gain or inability to lose weight. It can be dry skin. It can be losing eyebrow thinning or losing your hair. It can be being very low energy, very flat. It can be skin issues. It can be brittle nails. There's a lot of symptoms that are associated with the thyroid. However, again, the biggest two are going to be low energy and weight gain or inability to lose weight. So what causes the thyroid to go a little bit off? I would say the first place to look is the gut. And that kind of gives you B and C levels of other root causes, but the gut is integral for thyroid health. The gut is integral for all of our health, but a lot of the thyroid hormone, T4 to T3 conversion, happens in the gut and is regulated in the gut. So if your gut is inflamed, if there's leaky gut, if there's dysbiosis or imbalance in the bacteria, you're not going to have thyroid conversion optimally happening. So if the thyroid doesn't convert optimally there, what happens is it goes upstream and the thyroid TSH goes, hey, I'm not having conversions, further down. So it keeps kicking it up more and more and more to try to help the downstream problem. The other thing is in the gut is where we absorb nutrients. And so if you're not absorbing nutrients optimally, whether it's from leaky gut or inflammation or dysbiosis, you're not going to have the essential minerals, the vitamins and minerals that are needed for the thyroid to do its jobs. So what are the big minerals that are associated with the thyroid? Of course, it's iodine, selenium, and zinc. Those are the big three. So iodine is going to be crucial for making the hormones. We've got our selenium. It really protects the thyroid from oxidative stress. And then zinc and iron, they're needed to convert the T4 hormone to T3. So if you're not able to absorb any of those, you can start to have the thyroid starting to misfire. Other things that can really affect the gut lining and nutrient absorption would be things like birth control, gut issues again, coming from processed foods, coming from infections, coming from high stress, poor sleep, all of that coming in and affecting the gut lining. The next thing that is a big piece of the thyroid that we don't often look at is the chronic stress cortisol piece. And so people that live very stressful lives, right, have high cortisol, live in that high stress system, can absolutely tank, one, their adrenal glands that are producing the cortisol, but two, the thyroid gland. And so when your cortisol is high from chronic stress, it actually will slow down the production of thyroid hormones and the conversion of thyroid hormones. So if that slows down, the higher the stress, the lower the thyroid function. So then you've got high cortisol, low thyroid function, and often that feels terrible, right? You feel puffy, you're holding on to weight, your energy is down, you're not sleeping well, which then could perpetuate the symptoms, making it worse and worse. So things that would give us a clue that your cortisol is high is, one, you just know you're dealing with a lot of stress, you're waking up exhausted, maybe wired at night, you're tired, but you're also wired, caffeine, needing caffeine throughout the day to keep going, crashing at 2 or 3 in the afternoon, maybe needing sugar as a pick-me-up, getting dizzy when you stand up, all can be signs of high cortisol. And things that we can do to manage cortisol in our adrenal glands is, one, figure out ways to lower your stress. I'm a realist. You're never going to get your stress to zero. But it's finding how can you get your body to manage it a little better. So are there activities you love that lower your stress? For me, it's playing tennis. When I go play tennis, my whole nervous system calms down. Is it eating foods that are going to support the adrenal glands, fats and minerals? It can be breath work, meditation, yoga, getting out for fresh air, but finding ways to offset the high stress is key so that your thyroid can start to pop back on. The other piece that people don't often look at is blood sugar regulation. So when you have high insulin, it will actually block the thyroid conversion as well. And so insulin is released to grab sugar. So when people have either insulin resistance or they're having blood sugar issues, whether you're kind of riding the high blood sugar crashing, or again, insulin resistant, just from that being a prolonged piece, it will slow down the thyroid conversion as well. And so we have to figure out ways to manage blood sugar. And so if you're managing your blood sugar, it's, again, eating balanced meals, not eating really sugary things, eating lots of protein and lots of fats so that your body has what it needs, keeping your sugar low. And, for a lot of people, doing like a little keto challenge, again, not long-term, but doing it as a reset is a good way to get your blood sugar a little more balanced. You can also wear a CGM, which is those continuous glucose monitors that go on the back of the arm and will tell you your blood sugar 24 hours a day. What's interesting is a lot of people, their blood sugar is okay during the day, but it might bottom out at night. And so those continuous glucose monitors can help see, are you too high? Are you too low? And then, of course, you can ask your doctor to run a insulin test and see where your insulin is to make sure that you don't have high insulin that would be playing a role in your thyroid issues. My favorite of the root causes of why the thyroid would be off are toxins. So, of course, the gut is a big piece and toxins affect the gut, but the toxins are, I think, more of the missed piece that people don't look at. And there are things that absolutely block thyroid conversion. And so some of these toxins are very easy to get rid of. Some of them are a little trickier. But the first one is fluoride. So fluoride is in tap water, a lot of tap water. It's in toothpaste, and it actually will block the iodine absorption and slow down the conversion of the thyroid hormones. So simple solution there is drink filtered water and staying away from high fluoride toothpaste so that you're not getting too much fluoride in your system. The second thing is chlorine in our water. A lot of water is treated with chlorine, and this will actually compete with iodine in the thyroid. So you'll be getting chlorine there, not iodine. So again, drinking filtered water, that's going to pull this. And then bromine, this is found in a lot of breads and even in soda. And this will alter the thyroid function as well. And so with water, that is something that a lot of people go, oh, I have a refrigerator filter, or I use a Brita filter. And so unfortunately, those don't really pull the majority of the toxins. You want a very good water system. So my recommendation is reverse osmosis. So of course you can get them installed under the sink, but doing something like a AquaTrue, they have a counter reverse osmosis that will pull fluorides, pesticides, heavy metals, all of that out of the water, and make sure that you're drinking actual clean water. The biggest thing with reverse osmosis is you want to make sure it's remineralized. The way that RO works is it pulls everything out. So you need minerals in your water. So you just want a remineralization piece there. So I know AquaTrue has that. Many of the RO systems do have that. If you have a reverse osmosis system, maybe call the company and ask, is your water being realkalized or remineralized at the end of the filtration process? More toxins that affect the thyroid are heavy metals. So mercury is a big one. We get this guy from seafood, the big fish, tuna being probably the most common. It can also be from old amalgam fillings. They're going to damage the thyroid enzymes. And so again, staying away from tuna, as much as it's delicious, staying away from tuna. Aluminum, this is going to often come from deodorants and then using aluminum foil in the kitchen, and it can interfere with the thyroid hormone production. So going aluminum-free deodorant, and then also using parchment paper in replacement of the aluminum foil. Then we have plastics. They're huge in terms of any of the hormones, whether it's estrogen, thyroid, they affect all of the hormones. But plastics are something that for me is a non-negotiable. I try to be as plastic free as I possibly can, and especially in the house. So BPA is a chemical found in plastic water bottles. It's also found in cans. It's on receipts, that thermal paper, and it actually will lower the thyroid hormone levels. And so this is where I want people to go to glass water bottles, stainless steel water bottles. And some kickback that I always hear is, oh, I have a BPA-free water bottle. And unfortunately, BPA is bisphenol A. BPA-free just means that it's BPA-free, not bisphenol free. So they're using BPF or BPS as a replacement, and unfortunately it has the exact same health implications that BPA does. So really staying away from all plastics. So some of the sneaky things are plastic food storage, water bottles, cutting boards, your Keurig, little coffee pods, all plastic. Getting rid of all of that. And a little bit does matter. And the hardest part with BPA and these plastics is they sit in the body. So for many people, just cutting them out isn't good enough. You do often want to test and see, do I have plastics sitting in my system? And then from there, you can detox them. But most people do, just because of the high plastic load and growing up on years and years of plastics. Where plastic is problematic is in heat. So whether it's a water bottle that was sitting in the back of a truck in the summer before it got to the grocery store, or a water bottle that went through the dishwasher, or Tupperware that went through the dishwasher, once it's exposed to heat, that's where the plastic leaches out. So those really, I'd say, are the big root causes. Of course, there's pesticides that can affect the thyroid. There are various VOCs that can affect the thyroid. So running a toxic panel is always my first piece of looking at, what root causes are there. The next is mold mycotoxins. Mycotoxins can flatline all of the hormones. So whether they're coming from water damaged mold or from a food source, coffee, grains, peanuts, they all have the ability to lower the thyroid hormones. And so over time, you start to get where the thyroid is very, very low functioning because of these mycotoxins, especially if there's Hashimoto's. Hashimoto's is the autoimmune disease of the thyroid. And so with Hashimoto's, we often see a huge mold mycotoxin component. So if someone comes and they have thyroid imbalances, my first place to go is a toxin panel. Mold mycotoxins, environmental toxins, heavy metals. See what's in the body, and then you can start to detox it just to pull the toxic load off of the body and off of the thyroid. So again, looking at the gut, 20 to 30% of the thyroid hormone is actually converted and activated in the gut. So if your gut is off, we are not going to see optimal thyroid conversion. Leaky gut, candida, SIBO, parasites, mold, toxins, all can affect the gut and lead to poor hormone activation, poor conversion of these thyroid hormones. So signs that you may have some gut imbalances would be bloating, food allergies or food intolerances, poor digestion, undigested food in the stool. All of those can be signs of gut issues that could be affecting your thyroid. So then we look at the liver. And the liver is such a big player of the thyroid, and it doesn't seem connected, right? Two separate organs. The liver is a big detoxer, the thyroid. However, about 60% of your thyroid hormone is actually converted in the liver itself. So if your liver is sluggish or not working optimally, your thyroid conversion is not going to happen great. So many people's livers are completely overburdened, and it's from a multitude of things. One, all the toxins we talked about, right? Mold mycotoxins, environmental toxins, heavy metals. Just going out in the normal world day to day, we are exposed to so many toxins. So the liver has to break all of those down. So for many people, a sluggish liver starts with a high toxic load. Then we add in poor diet, we add in lack of vitamins and minerals, and you're really setting yourself up for the liver not doing an optimal job going through its detoxification process. So the biggest vitamin deficiency that we see is the methylated Bs, or having adequate amount of B vitamins to actually go through the liver, the multiple phases of liver detoxification. Again, the second your liver gets sluggish, the thyroid conversion slows down. So how do we know that your liver is sluggish? Skin issues, right? Is your skin breaking out? Maybe tiny little red bumps, fatigue, maybe it's abdominal pain right under your rib cage. It can be waking up in the middle of the night, somewhere between 12 and 2, 12 and 3 in the morning. It can be brain fog. It can be nausea. It could be darker urine. But if your liver is overburdened, your thyroid will not convert as optimally as possible. So in terms of the liver, what can we do to optimize our liver? So adding in cruciferous vegetables, broccoli, cauliflower, cabbage, these things help with the liver, help break down toxins in the liver. They're my favorite food for liver health. Can be adding warm water with lemon in to start liver detoxification and kind of stimulate that process, in the morning. Lowering your toxic load, going through your products, your cleaning products, your personal care products, all of the products at home, and making sure there's no toxins there. It can be going through and detoxing, right? Pulling out these things from the body so the body doesn't have to do it itself. So once you've maybe done some testing, you've figured out what could be causing your thyroid imbalances, what else can you do? How can we eat to support our liver health? So the biggest caveat is if your gut's a mess and you're not absorbing, these things aren't going to help as much as they could, but we're assuming that someone has a healthy gut. What can you do to eat foods that are supportive of the thyroid? So the first is going to be the selenium. So Brazil nuts are probably the most common. You do need to be mindful of these. Do not go crazy. One Brazil nut a day would be really all you need to do. Don't add these as a daily snack. It could be wild caught salmon as well. Then we've got zinc. Zinc you can get through your oysters. You can get it through grass-fed beef, but having a high zinc diet. Iodine, get this through your fish, through natural seafood. And then again, cruciferous vegetables, broccoli, Brussels, cauliflower, cabbage, having this in your diet just to help liver stay healthy. Things that we want to avoid: processed foods, sugars, gluten, dairy, really the inflammatory foods while you're working on healing your gut. Things that you want to do in terms of lifestyle is be really mindful about your toxic exposure. So getting rid of plastics, getting rid of conventional cleaning products and going more on the natural side. I'm a big fan of Branch Basics for all of their cleaning products. Going through your makeup and personal care products, making sure there's no parabens, phthalates, fragrances, dyes in that. And these things do make a difference, especially if you're using them every single day. Also, drinking filtered water. That is probably one of the most crucial things, is that you're drinking filtered water, that there's no toxins in. So investing in a good water filter. Again, I love AquaTrue. They have a counter RO system as well as one that can be installed under the sink. And then, managing your stress and your blood sugar, right? So breath work, meditation, exercise, doing things that you love. And then in terms of blood sugar, eating balanced meals, enough protein, enough fats, low glycemic carbs, not eating a lot of sugar, not eating a lot of processed and refined carbs, just eating a balanced diet so that your blood sugar can be stable, so we're not having high insulin affecting the thyroid. So the thyroid is so crucial for us. It controls so much of our body that really, if the thyroid is off, everything else suffers. So it is key to get your thyroid to an optimal state. And to do this, it's quite simple, yet it is a little it is a little tricky, but it is quite simple, where you just have to figure out, why is the thyroid misfiring? Your body's always working for you, not against you. And symptoms are a way of the body saying something is wrong. So if the thyroid is starting to not function as optimally as possible, why? So are there toxins? What does your gut look like? What does your diet look like? What does your stress load look like? Start there. And then from there, you can figure out what's off and needs to be adjusted. I worked with a client years ago, and her thyroid just kept getting worse and worse and worse. She ate well, her lifestyle was good, but what she missed was that she had a ton of environmental toxins. She had very high BPA in plastics, very high pesticides, and mold mycotoxins off the charts. That was the piece that she was missing. And once we tested, and once we found that, and were able to start to detoxify her thyroid started kicking back on, and she was able, with the help of her doctor, to lower her medication and lower her medication and lower her medication as her body healed. So you really just have to figure out why this is happening. The body doesn't just go sideways for no reason. So dig a little bit, figure out why this is happening. And then from there, you can come up with a game plan to start to work on healing the body and healing the thyroid. So I hope you guys all enjoyed this. I love, love, love talking about the thyroid, just because it affects so many people, and there are answers and there are ways to heal. You just have to find them. So thank you so much, and we will talk next week.